Hi, welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to be participating in a $10 Thrift Flipped collaboration, and it's hosted by Joan Brodie. I'll go ahead and leave her channel as well as the playlist for everybody who's going to be participating down in the description box down below. What this challenge is all about is we're each going to take $10 or less to the thrift store, and we're going to purchase something and then totally make it over to look different than what it was or to recycle it in some way, but without going over our $10 budget, and that's with the purchase of it as well as making it over. So let's get started here. What I did is I purchased this green urn, and I'm going to remake it into a Mackenzie Childs Inspired Urn. And if you've never seen their products, go check out their website. Their stuff is wonderful. What we're going to do is, first off, I cleaned it really good with the Clorox wipes. Then I sanded it to give it a little grip to be able to hold on to the paint that I'm using. I had some leftover interior satin Bare Premium paint, and it's just in solid white, and I'm going to give it 2 or 3 really good coats to totally cover up this green that it originally was. Now, when you're covering up things like this, it's always better to give it a few thin coats instead of trying to give it one really thick coat, because if you give it a really thick coat, chances are you could end up with drip paint lines, and we don't want that, so I'm going to give it 2 or 3 real thin coats of paint here. And I'm going to make sure that I get in all these little nooks and crannies and really good in all these little embossed areas. And now here it is once it's all painted, and now we're ready to use our pencil and draw our design on it. Now, with Mackenzie Childs inspired things or Mackenzie Childs items, there's always a whimsical aspect to them, kind of like a court jester type look to them. And so I am drawing some diamond shapes on here. Now, one thing with this urn that I purchased, it has some embossed roses and bows and things on it. So I'm trying to go ahead and put a diamond shape around that so that that will be hidden by the diamond shape. Now, it's pretty easy doing it at the top, but at the bottom part, I have to go right over the tails of the bows. And so it makes doing the bottom part of the diamond a little bit more difficult, but not impossible. And in the end, it actually ends up looking pretty good. Now, if you're going to do this, I would recommend trying to get an urn that doesn't have this extra embossing on top. It would just make it a lot easier. Now, wherever I have this embossed rose, I'm going and putting a large diamond, and then in between the large diamonds, I'm putting a smaller diamond. And I'm doing this all the way around our urn. And that's looking pretty good right there. You can kind of see what it looks like. And now once we have that all drawn out with our pencil, what we're going to do is we're going to take a Sharpie and we're going to go over all of our pencil with the Sharpie. Now, there's a couple of reasons we're doing this. One, it kind of helps show us exactly where it is we're going to be painting with our black paint, and it's going to serve as a guideline. So when we're using our black paint, we know that we can go right up to that Sharpie line and not go over it. And that will help keep the edges of our paint nice and straight. The second reason for using the Sharpie is we're going to outline everything on our urn that we're going to be painting in black. And this is going to help us to see visually whether or not we like all those places to be in black. It's going to be much easier to go ahead and to repaint over a Sharpie line than it is if we wait and paint something with our acrylic paints and then decide we don't want that and have to repaint the whole thing then. We can do that, and that's not a real big problem, but it's just easier if we can figure it out with our Sharpie first. Now you can see here everywhere on our urn that I'm thinking about painting with the black paint, I'm going and outlining that with the Sharpie. Right down to the very bottom portion here where I'm going to have just round parts going around, or if I'm going to be going around this little embossed area here at the very bottom, we are just outlining all of that. Now, if you do make a mistake and you put your Sharpie in an area that you don't want it, don't worry about it. Like I said, it's easy enough to just go ahead and take some of your paint and go right over it, and that's really easy to do. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I like things that are very forgiving and easy to correct if you get them wrong. Now what we're doing here is we're using some of this Deco Art Americana black paint, and we're starting with our diamonds here, and we're just going to paint those in nice smooth strokes. Until we have that all done. Now we're taking and we're going to go and just highlight each of those slashes around the top. Then we're going to go right here in this middle area, and we're going to be outlining each one of these individual parts. And you can see where the Sharpie marker was and how that paint just covers it right up so nice. And now we're going to paint this black right around this middle ring portion here, and now around this bottom ring portion of the middle. And now we're going to paint this embossed area on the very bottom. And of course we're going to paint the entire base black. And we are going to paint the sides as well as the top of our base black. Now once you have that all done, we're going to come back up here to the center and just go right around the center ring area, getting that all nice and painted. And taking nice small strokes is the way to go. And now that that's done, we're going to outline each one of these individual parts in the center, and now we're going to paint every other one black. And the ones that we want to leave white, we're not adding any extra paint on those. The paint that we painted white on our urn to begin with is just perfect for leaving those just the way they are. And that's why we use 2 to 3 coats when we are first covering it, so that we wouldn't have to go back and repaint those again. Now this lower portion, we're doing the same as the upper portion, going white, black, white, black. Now we're going to use some of this Master Touch light olive green, and this is what's going to really give it its punch of color and really add that whimsical feel to it. We're going to do these rings right around the center in this olive green, this light olive green, along with the dots that are embossed along the bottom. And then we're going to do this part on the top where it's in between the slash marks. And we're going to want to do 2 coats of our green on all of this, because 1 coat leaves it a little bit more yellow green, where 2 coats gives it just a little bit of a darker green look. And now we're adding a few dots in here around our diamonds, And that just again adds to that little bit of a whimsical look. And I was lucky enough when I picked this urn up at the thrift store to find this checkerboard stencil. They had this checkerboard stencil for only 50 cents. It was brand new, not even out of its package yet. And so I picked this up, and this is going to go perfect, adding this checkerboard stencil right along the bottom of our urn. And I'll show you that right there. Now, whenever you're doing stencils like this, it's always best not to have too much paint on your dabber, because if you do, then it tends to get underneath your stencil and it just makes it really hard to keep a nice clean line while you're doing it. Now we're just adding a few more dots around our diamonds and adding that second coat of green along the top. And here it is the next morning. We just left it to dry overnight. And I love how it just looks fun and whimsical, and it's going to look great this spring. I hope you've really enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks so much for watching.